Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a very special look at an assortment of figures that fall under both general retail and BotCon exclusive status. This is our look at the combiner team that forms the BotCon 2016 combiner, Magnaboss. Fans of Beast Wars are probably very familiar with the Magnaboss name. It was one of only 2 combiner characters in the entire Beast Wars toy line. He was the Maximal combiner, standing opposite his Predacon rival, Predacus. And Predacus's earlier form, just Predacus, was the centerpiece for the 2016 BotCon convention. It was called Dawn of the Predacus. I reviewed that combiner team last week as part of Tformers Beast Wars 25th Anniversary Celebration Month. So this week, I'm bringing you his heroic counterpart. Now, Predacus was a proper box set, so I actually had some packaging to show you. These toys came in either just standard Combiner Wars packaging, specifically these 3 here, or just baggies as BotCon souvenirs. They didn't have boxes. So rather than do the usual package look, we're just going to get straight into the figures themselves. So our 2 BotCon exclusive toys are Tigatron, based off of his original BotCon figure, which was a white redeco of the Japanese exclusive Beast Wars Ravage. So this toy is likewise a redeco of the BotCon 2016 Ravage. So we're kind of coming full circle on Tigatron's character, which is appropriate because this was the final BotCon. So during the last, year or two, they really focused on legacy BotCon characters and figures and kind of revisiting them before, the whole thing kind of went kaput. Then here we get a very obscure character. It's a Maximal known as Unit 3, which is a direct reference to the McDonald's Happy Meal figure, which was sold to children under the age of 3. That transformed between just a lion head and then a little robot inside that looked kind of like an Optimus Primal, but done up in these interesting red, black, and yellow colors. And the toy was never given an official name, but he eventually became known as Under 3 because of the verbiage on his baggie that he came in. It said, Under 3. So Unit 3 is a play on that because it just kind of makes more sense in a fictional context. And this specific toy is actually a direct redeco of the standard Combiner Wars Streetwise figure. So same head and everything, because the head kind of, sort of resembles the toy from the McDonald's promotion. So these guys sold individually as exclusives. Then we get our 3 retail figures who have been enhanced by official stickers that were available at the BotCon convention. And these stickers serve both to increase their level of detail and G1 accuracy, especially in the cases of Prowl and Ironhide, but also add some details that were reminiscent of their Beast Wars incarnations as part of the combiner Magnaboss, because the original Beast Wars Magnaboss was only 3 members. You had Silverbolt, Prowl, and Ironhide. And it wasn't established until years later that these were indeed the Generation 1 characters given new Maximal forms. Which honestly does help clear up the confusion, because within Beast Wars, there were additional characters named Silverbolt and Prowl. So this, helped establish that these guys are the OG characters, and then the other ones are just simply, namesakes. Now, typically, I'm not a collector that double dips on toys. There are only, some rare instances where I will buy more than one copy of a figure. A recent example of that would be the Siege Refractor toy, because you had to buy 3 of them to build the camera mode. Of course, then they pulled some BS on us and released like a toy-accurate 3-pack, but, they made sure we didn't know that was coming till after we bought 3 retail refractors. I know what you're doing, Hasbro. I'm onto you. And then I think aside from that, these 3 are the only time I've ever bought extra copies, because I wanted to keep my standard versions to go with, Superion and Optimus Maximus. And then I could also have, separate ones that are done up with the stickers to become part of this combiner. So this Magnaboss falls in a really weird place. He is official as far as canon, but in order to make him proper, you have to attach stickers to regular figures that aren't, normally part of those. And now normally stickers will be something in the realm of like toy hacks where, they're unofficial, third party, not really official merchandise, but these were sold at the convention by Fun Publications, who did have the Transformers license. So in my book, that actually makes these official. All right, so now that we've seen a big team shot of our Maximals in their vehicle modes, I'm going to look at each one individually. I'm going to compare Tigatron to Ravage, and then I'll compare our 3 retail figures to their just standard unstickered counterparts. Okay, first up is Tigatron with the BotCon Ravage figure. And these toys are both new head retools of the Combiner Wars Breakdown toy, the Stunticon. And these guys are both infamous for having a really just horribly done head, which we'll get a good look at in the robot mode. But let's check out the vehicle mode. Now Ravage, he's very sleek, like a black spy car. Let's remove the sword gun things so you can see more clean alt mode. Tigatron opts for a little bit of a flashier design. He gets the big Maximal symbol on the hood there. He's got some very vibrant rims. So these two are kind of polar opposites of each other, right? Like, he's a dark car with a light windshield. He's a light car with a dark windshield. Yeah, pretty cool. You can choose to leave this bit on as like his big old giant engine block, supercharger, doohickey, I don't know, cars. So you can leave it on. It looks fine like that. Looks like it's actually meant to be part of it. You can also choose to remove these if you just want to see how they look like completely clean. See the back vents and all that stuff. So yeah, personally, I like Tigatron's colors more. They really pop to me. Like, Ravage is cool. He's not bad anyway, but I think Tigatron's just a little bit cooler in my book. I really like the ice blue colors, and I just find him very interesting. Next up, we get Unit 3, who has a very unique and very interesting color scheme. Also just a very cool one. In fact, kind of reminds me of the Predacons, like, the G1 team, the Predacons, who played a prominent role in the story of this convention, by the way. I will say the comic that was part of this was just not good. It was really bad. Okay, I'll say within its own confines, it wasn't the worst thing, but it was meant to be a prequel to not only Beast Wars, but also the other Beast Wars prequel stuff that FunPub did, like Theft of the Golden Disc, and the details just completely failed to match up, at all. So, sadly, the guy they hired to write that didn't seem to do a whole lot of research into what the actual canon was. He just did what he wanted to do, and then they called it a prequel. So if you want to know my opinion on that comic, I'd say not great. Now, I do think there are changes you could have made to, kind of the overall idea he had going that would have made it work a lot better, but sadly, it wasn't the case. So this guy does look very cool. He's got quite a bit of paint, which, he's a BotCon toy. They tend to have more paint. But this whole section's all nice and painted up. The headlights are painted. Taillights still aren't painted. They're so allergic to painting taillights on these. Got the cool stripes, though, because of this bit of, different kind of plastic, the unpaintable plastic right here in the middle, there's a gap in the stripes. And, the regular version of this mold suffer from that too, unfortunately. You can always pull this off. You want to see the racing stripes. He has a light bar because he is a recolor of what's supposed to be like an emergency vehicle, but they just color it black here. And him being a direct read echo of Streetwise does mean that, as far as the vehicle mode is concerned, he's pretty much identical to Prowl. Because the only difference between Prowl and Streetwise was the head, right? The vehicle mode and weapons, all that are the same. So, yeah, that does make the Combiner a little samey in some points because, it's not always great when they recycle the same limb mold and the same Combiner. Unless they do it, very symmetrically, and then it looks kind of cool. So, yeah, overall, he looks pretty neat. I think he's probably the most interesting looking out of this group of 5 here. Speaking of Prowl, here he is alongside of his non-stickered version. So obviously the toys themselves are the same, so this is really to get a look at just what stickers are on there and how they make them look different. So the first thing you notice here on the hood, they cover up the Autobot symbol with a police badge, which is a detail from the original Prowl toy. In fact, a lot of these stickers are details from the original Prowl toy. And then they put a Maximal symbol here to show his new allegiance, because this takes place in time where the Autobots have already become Maximals. At least the toys are. In the comic, they're still Autobots. So, yeah, it couldn't even get the comic to line up with the toys. Here's the side. We talked about that unpaintable plastic bit here where it always has a breakup of color. So they remedy that with this one with a sticker that makes this part white and then just continues the blue and yellow patterning across the top here. So that's pretty cool. And then on the back, they give him taillight stickers. So we finally get stickers for one of these guys on the taillights. It might be like kind of a one-off. Well, I guess a two-off because Ironhide has them too, you'll see. But yeah, it really corrects one of the biggest issues with these. So honestly, I think it's an improvement overall, even without like the added Maximal touch. Like even if you didn't want to put that on there, you just get a much more G1 accurate Prowl. I mean, of course, nowadays, you know, 5 years later, we have better options for that G1 accuracy, but, you know, back in 2016, this is about the closest you were going to get. Now we have Ironhide, and just like Tigatron, you can choose to leave his hand-foot gun as part of the vehicle mode, since it does become, you know, an actual part of it instead of just slapping on there. Or you can take it off if you want them, you know, more clean. I still find it weird that they chose the pickup truck version of this mold for Ironhide instead of the more like van-like back. I'm guessing it's supposed to be like a call out to his movie toy, though this isn't the movie version. I don't know. I would have preferred if he was more traditional, you know, van type. Oh. All right, so his stickers are pretty similar to Prowl's. He gets a new hood sticker, which covers up the Autobot symbol and replaces it with a Maximal symbol. Also gives this a gray area to reference Ironhide's Beast Wars incarnation, which turned into an elephant. Oh, I should probably put it out there. Some of you guys are probably going to expect me to show the individual shots of these guys with their actual Beast Wars toys. Unfortunately, I can't do that. And I'll get into why, but it's a gold plastic syndrome related. Okay, so some more sticker details. He gets paint right here to give him, I guess that's supposed to be headlights, though the headlights are here, so that's kind of weird. And that's really it for the vehicle mode. He's got a lot more sticker detail for the robot mode, and we'll get into that. So he's a bit more minimalist than Prowl was, but still makes him look pretty cool. And then lastly, we get our torso bot, Silverbolt. And the two big differences for this jet mode, one, the Autobot symbols yet again get covered up with these brown and white stickers, which are meant to evoke eagle wings, because Beast Wars Silverbolt is an eagle. So it kind of hints at his design there. And then you just get some extra Maximal symbols right here on both sides. And then as far as the jet mode, that's really it. Everything else is kind of undercarriage, and we'll look at that again with the robot modes, combiner mode, all that. So he doesn't look super different than the regular form, just different wing patterns, really. Okay, now we have our group shot of our guys in their robot modes. And this is where those sticker sets really get to shine. This is where you see a lot of the added detail coming from those. And I'll delve into them on each individual toy. Now, I will say one thing, this team mostly color matches fairly well, with the three main colors between them being red, black, and white. So you get all these guys here. And then you get Tigatron, who's a little odd. He does have a lot of white on him, but it's much more of a dingy white. And then he's, you know, his other color is mostly light blue. So he does kind of feel like the odd man out a little bit. And in a way, that kind of works within the confines of the comic, because he was a replacement for, I think, was it Perceptor? I believe was supposed to be the fifth member, but Perceptor died. So in an emergency, they had to have Tigatron become one of the legs. It was a really weird story. Alright, so we're back to Tigatron, along with Ravage in their robot modes. And from the front, you might think, well, you know, the heads don't look too bad. Sure, they're a little small. But then you turn it to the side and... they're really flat. Like, the back of their head is just completely flat against that ball joint. And, I don't know, the Fun Pub guys, they said during the convention that there was like a factory screw-up and they had actually designed a better one. Take it or leave it. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not. But, yeah, the head is just really bad on both of these guys, which is such a shame because, you know, both these toys are based on such a cool design, the Beast Wars Ravage design. And, you know, a lot of people are really stoked to get some version of that, even if it means, you know, now they have a vehicle mode instead of a beast mode. Thankfully, Hasbro is releasing a new version of Beast Wars Ravage during their upcoming PulseCon, and that's going to be a heavy retool of the Kingdom Cheetor toy. which, you know, is appropriate because the original Beast Wars Ravage was a retool of Beast Wars Cheetor. Transmetal one, anyway. So if you don't want to track down, you know, either the prohibitively expensive original one or this one, you have a really good option coming down the pike. And I'm hoping, not sure if they'll do it, but I'm hoping as maybe a selects or something, they recolor that one to become a Transmetal Tigatron. I don't know if they'll do it because the new Ravage toy has a lot of organic features, has a lot of, you know, like fur pattern and stuff that the original CGI design and the original toy or Transmetal wouldn't have. So I don't know if they'll go that route because you can't really call it Transmetal Tigatron when it's really a mostly organic beast mode, right? Transmetals were the inverse. They were mechanical beast modes with organic looking robot modes. So yeah, personally, I wouldn't turn it down. Like fur texture or not, I would love to get a Tigatron version of that upcoming Ravage because the original BotCon Tigatron, as well as the RC that was sold with him that year, like those are two of my holiest of grails when it comes to Transformers collecting. I would love to have those. So maybe I'll be able to get some sort of a consolation prize if they redo the upcoming Ravage's Tigatron. We'll see. All right, next up is Unit 3 again. And like I said, he's just a direct read echo of Streetwise. So nothing real new to see there. But I will say his colors, just like with the vehicle mode, his robot mode colors are just really, really cool. I love the black and red and yellow contrast, and now he gets, you know, a fair bit of silver on him too. And I will say that the Streetwise head is a pretty decent head to use. It does have a, you know, kind of a squinting resemblance to a Optimus Primal head, or, you know, kind of a simplified one like the McDonald's toy was. So I think it works out pretty well. And it's really neat to see a character who, up until that point, had purely just been a joke character. Like, anytime he showed up in fiction, it was usually just as, like, a super background character, or he was, like, unceremoniously killed off. And he actually got to have a pretty prominent role in the Dawn of the Predacus storyline. If only that storyline had been better, but, you know. But yeah, I really, really like the way he comes out. And he does bear a pretty fitting resemblance to the McDonald's toy. Though, obviously, you know, made to be less ridiculous and actually really, really cool looking. The red Maximal symbol against his black chest just looks nice. We're moving on now to Prowl, and his sticker sheet continues to do the same thing it did in vehicle mode, where it simultaneously makes him more G1 accurate, or, you know, at least G1 toy accurate, and then more Beast Wars accurate. So it's a really interesting dynamic they have here. So you can see his chest is, like, completely stickered up to give him a little bit of gray here, but, you know, give him a Maximal symbol, and then a lot of brown and yellow. And that's very fitting because Beast Wars Prowl turns into a lion, right? So he would be mostly golden yellow and brown for the mane. They also go ahead and make his head crest yellow. So that really adds a lot of Maximal features, but then they also give him the police badges on his shoulders, like the G1 toy had. And they sticker the bottoms of his feet to resemble the car bumper feet that the G1 Prowl had. So overall, it just kind of makes him better in every way, right? You can just attach the G1 base stickers if you want to, just to sticker him up, increase his detail, increase his, you know, G1 toy accuracy. You can attach his Maximal stickers to make him look more like the Beast Wars toy, or you can do both, like I opted to do. And overall, I think it just makes him more interesting looking. All right, now we move to Ironhide, and his stickers for robot mode center entirely around his torso area here. So you can see it adds a lot of gray coloration, which again is to evoke the elephant alt mode of his Beast Wars counterpart. He gets a Maximal symbol on his belt buckle, a little extra gray detailing right here in the center of the chest, and then oddly enough, he gets what appears to be some kind of window detailing, which would seem odd that if you're trying to dress him up to look more like his Beast Wars character, why would you go out of your way to add hand-drawn windows just over, like, the regular windows? I'm not really sure. Weird choice. They do leave his head completely red, which is actually accurate because the Beast Wars toy had just this bright red head, which honestly contrasted very sharply with his body, which was, you know, mostly gray. So to me, Ironhide stickers are probably the least exciting. Like, they do add a lot of that gray, but there's not much of a hint of, you know, the animal it's supposed to look like. Like, it's just gray. And that could be a lot of things, you know? But he does at least get the Maximal belt buckle thing, so that's pretty cool. Okay, and then moving back to the team leader, we get Silverbolt. And most of his new stickers are centered around the middle of the chest and the shoulders. So he gets these brown details on the shoulders, which again are meant to evoke like the eagle feathers. And they work very well with the already sculpted lines on the shoulders. He gets brown in the middle, then a big old Maximal symbol there. And though a relatively minor detail, at least for this mode, he gets stickers on the sides of his legs too, which, you know, form the combiner chest. So you just get a plain white one here. And then here on this side, it's another white sticker, and then with a Maximal sticker slapped on top of that. And we'll get a better look at that for the combiner mode. So again, he's just being slightly altered to somewhat more resemble his Beast Wars toy. And the color layout actually works pretty well for him, because Beast Wars Silverbolt has a brown torso with a white head and white forearms. So they didn't really have to do anything here or here to make him more accurate. Just kind of leave him as he is. I guess if they wanted to, they could have put a sticker like over his face to make it like that white ninja mask thing, but I don't know how well it would stick because there's a lot of grooves and sculpting going on there, so I don't know. Okay, so we've seen all of our individual bots in both their vehicle and robot modes. Now it's time to see the main attraction, Magnaboss himself. And here he is, the 5-bot version of Magnaboss. So some things of note here. The chest stickers we pointed out in Silverbolt really shine through here. You can see them front and center. We also get some additional brown feather-like stickers around the outer chest or shoulder area. And then most significantly for this combiner, you get a whole bunch of stickers on the head. So you get all these stickers that completely cover the Superion face. You get one piece that goes across like the visor area, another one that goes across the mouthpiece to create something that resembles Magnaboss's face. Sans a nose because, you know, I mean, just the shape of Superion's head doesn't really allow you to do a nose. Personally, I mean, it's okay. It's a little cartoony looking for my tastes, but it carries the idea well enough at least. And then across the head crest, you get details that are meant to look like an eagle's head. Right? You can see the beak here, the eyes, wraps around to the back. Let me show you the back right there. So, you know, they do what they can to make a toy that looks nothing like Magnaboss look kind of like Magnaboss. So, you know, it's not a bad effort, honestly, for something that you did with stickers. I mean, this is basically what Toy Hacks does all the time, only here it's, you know, it was done by an officially licensed provider of Transformers product. You also may notice that he's holding some kind of sword contraption. Now, this wasn't something that was in the instructions, but it was shown off at BotCon with the displays, where you can combine Silverbolt's shield with Tigatron's little sword gun thing to form something that's meant to be Magnaboss's classic sword. Now, admittedly, it's pretty dinky looking. I mean, even with the added length from this sword hilt thing you got, it's still a very small blade for this big combiner. I mean, it's smaller than the original Magnaboss's blade, even though the original Magnaboss is smaller than this guy. So you can use that configuration if you want to, or if you think it's silly, you can just have him wield the combined rifle like Superion style. Speaking of Superion, I have him here with Prowl and Ironhide serving as the arms so that we can compare just how these new stickered figures look in a combiner configuration. Now, the details on the arms really are pretty minimally noticeable. They don't really lend themselves to the combiner mode and are really purely there for the individual bots. But everything they did to the torso area really shines through, especially the face, right? Putting stickers across the entire face just makes him look like a very different character. And, you know, the Maximal symbol is a nice touch. The little feathers help set him apart a bit. So again, it's not going to be this mind-blowing transformation from your standard Superion to this Magnaboss. But I will say, for something done with just stickers, it's pretty good. Okay, now possibly the most important shot in the whole review. We get our side-by-side with the original Beast Wars Magnaboss. And again, I apologize that I couldn't, show you the individual components during this review. I mentioned gold plastic syndrome. So the Silverbolt component, which is the eagle, so forms like the little headdress, the missile launchers, wings, all that, this back area. Most of the toy is made out of gold metal fleck plastic. And it has become very, very brittle since this toy's release. In fact, my Silverbolt toy has already broken. This upper body section right here, this panel that holds the head, actually broke in half during my most recent move. Despite me wrapping it like a billion layers of bubble wrap, it just wasn't enough to save it. Fun fact though, Tformers.com very own Bacon was kind enough to send me a replacement piece because he just happened to have one sitting around. And I gotta tell you, it's very nerve-wracking reattaching this thing, right? Because you have to pop it back onto the yellow hinge that it attaches to, and just the force from popping that back on could have just broken this one in half. So I was kind of sweating bullets, but I managed to get it on there and, put it in a nice safe condition, and sadly, my Magnaboss will probably never transform again. It's too risky. Any kind of, excess force on this guy could cause him to break irreparably. And, it stinks. It really does. This is why gold plastic syndrome is just such an absolute downer, because Magnaboss is a cool toy. I mean, look at this guy. It's kind of like He-Man meets Transformers, right? And the individual robots, despite being, mostly kind of quirky and odd looking, especially Ironhide, they're still very cool in their own right. And the beast modes are really nice. In fact, we're getting a Kingdom Skywarp, like Beast Wars Skywarp, whose original toy was just a recolor of the Silverbolt component, because Beast Wars 2 had their own version of Magnaboss that was different characters. But really, it was just a recolor of this one. So we are getting that. And that is a really neat little homage. Why they elected to go with the Japanese version of this Eagle character, not this one, I'm not really sure. But it is a really neat little thing to have. Though, unfortunately, that does also mean that we're probably never getting an updated Magnaboss, because that toy, being an Air Razor retool, obviously can't combine with anything. So it's kind of like them just kind of throwing us a bone, throwing us a scrap, like, here, this is the closest you'll ever get. Because imagine getting this design, but updated with, like, really good articulation. Oh man, it'd be a dream come true. In fact, in my head, that was like a top contender for, like, what a Kingdom Commander class could be. So, you can imagine I was a little bit disappointed when I found out it was Rodimus. Not that Rodimus isn't awesome, but, it's Kingdom, it's Beast Wars, so. Yeah, anyway, these guys, they look really stellar together. Obviously, the old Magnaboss is significantly shorter than the new one, but to be fair, he's also only made of 3 robots. So they kind of have the same dynamic that Predacus and Tri-Predacus do. I see Tri-Predacus as just a future version of Predacus, who is kind of emergency combined without the help of the added 2 members. So naturally it would make him smaller and probably physically weaker, but still, a very powerful being in his own right. Alright, and our final group shot is going to bring in Magnaboss's rival, Predacus. And these two, while having a lot of differences, also have some pretty key similarities. One thing you'll notice is that Tigatron and Ravage are in the exact same spot on both combiners. So you get the same mold, just in different colors as his left leg. You'll also notice that the torsos look very similar. And that's because C-Clamp, who forms the torso of the combiner, is a new head retool of Combiner Wars Scattershot, who himself is a fairly extensive retool of Combiner Wars Silverbolt. So that's why they have such a similar profile. Now, aside from those similarities, everything else about them is pretty different. Right, the other 3 limbs are completely different molds, and their color schemes are very contrasting to one another. Magnaboss uses bright colors and high contrast, whereas Predacus uses darker colors and less contrast between the colors. They're a little more washed out looking. Now, I'm honestly not really sure which one I like most. I do like the more uniform color scheme going on with Predacus, but I also do kind of like the I guess, traditional Autobot colors that are going on with Magnaboss here. He does look very heroic and stands out quite a bit. So I don't know if there's one that I think is better or worse than the other. I think they're each doing their own thing. And they also both use the scheme of having your original 3 members from the Beast Wars Combiners forming the torso and the arms, right? So you just kind of cut off the legs, like these are the original teams right here. And then, you just got these other guys filling in. In fact, they made a little pun in the comic where they told Tigatron he's got some big shoes to fill, because he turns into the foot. Get it? Shoes to fill. Look, I didn't write this stuff, all right? I didn't write it. So yeah, it is cool, though, being able to have these two, because they offer more Generation 1-centric take on the 2 Beast Wars rivals. Okay, and this is going to complete our look at the 2016 BotCon Magnaboss Combiner. Again, this is a very odd set to review because it's just this ragtag group of toys, both exclusive and non-exclusive, that can only be assembled via the use of extra stickers that don't actually come with the toys. So, where he falls as far as, what would be considered an actual Transformers product it's a little murky, But if you are lucky enough to own this, 3 of them aren't too hard to come by. They're just the retail figures, but the stickers, if you didn't get them when they were available, they're probably really hard to get now. Plus your 2 exclusive bots, Tigatron and Under 3, or Unit 3. But, if you're lucky enough to have it, it's pretty cool. It's not nearly as cool as the original Magnaboss, right? It is kind of goofy in a way. It's them trying really hard to turn something that's not Magnaboss into something that is. But at the same time, that's kind of always been BotCon's and FunPub's MO, right? Taking toys that are clearly not one character and then trying their best to turn them into that character, right? Just look at like Shattered Glass and Wings Universe, right? They were really, really big on that. And, sometimes it worked out really well, sometimes not so much. This guy, I would say, falls somewhere in the middle. Like, he is a passable G1-based Magnaboss. Not the best, not the worst. So I really enjoy him. I had a lot of fun putting this together. I had a lot of fun going to BotCon. It was the only one I ever went to, for those that don't know. And it being Beast Wars themed, it combined 2 of my favorite things about Transformers, right? Beast Wars and Combiners. Like, I like those things so much, I made discussion videos about them, and those are like one of the few discussion videos I've actually made, because I just really want to talk about those. So I enjoy it. I do wish that maybe someday we will get a proper updated Magnaboss, one that is fully articulated but does actually look like the Beast Wars toy. Until then, between this guy and the original, kind of holds me off and I get my fix of the character. So, I enjoy it, and I enjoyed doing this review for you guys and letting you see something that you may not have seen before, because he's pretty obscure, he's pretty out there. So hopefully you enjoyed watching this too. Again, this review is coming as part of Tformers.com Beast Wars Anniversary Celebration Month. And, it's just keeping that Beast Wars theme going, where everybody's reviewing, Beast era type characters, doing all sorts of photo shoots and all kinds of cool stuff. So if you haven't already, go to Tformers.com and check it out. A lot of us reviewers are on there, and we're having a blast making these for you. So, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to give it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. And thank you for joining me for this rather rare look at the 2016 BotCon Magnaboss. And with all that said, I will see you next time.